So this tutorial is on the Lily Lace pouches, which is a pattern exclusive to the Quilted Cow. I happened to get a kit which came with my fabric and zippers enough to make the 3 different sizes that the pattern does. So you saw my zippers and my exterior fabric, my lining fabric, and a coordinating fabric which will make the back and the top of my bag. So I cut out all of my pieces for each bag. I'm going to start with the smallest one, and then the steps are the same for all of them. So I take my backing, and that will also be the top, and my exterior front of the bag. I align the sides that match, and I'm going to sew along that edge. I took it over to my iron and pressed open that seam so it would lay flat. I'm going to turn it over so the right side is up. Then I'm going to take my lining piece and put it right sides together. And now you can pin or you can clip these together. I chose not to, depending on what you do. And you're going to sew those short sides together. All right, so I sewed the short sides together, twister there, and now I'm going to flip it out. So it kind of makes like a tube. And I'm going to roll out my seams on both sides of the edges that I sewed together and go take it to my ironing board and give it a really good press. So here it is all pressed. Now the next step is I'm going to start attaching the zipper. So I'm going to attach the zipper to the top, and this is where I sewed. This is my seam, all right? And your zipper should be longer, and I'm just going to align it so it's just tucked up right under the zipper. Now you can pin or you can clip, but you do want to attach your zipper foot. You can do it with a walking foot, but I chose to use my zipper foot. I'm just going to put one pin in there to kind of keep it there. And then you're going to take it and you are going to sew right up close to that zipper and attach it, and it will attach to your zipper bag. So you can see it there from the front, and you can see it on the back where it caught. I ended up ripping out a few places where it didn't quite catch and redoing them. All right, so now that it's attached on one side, we're gonna flip the bag or kind of turn the bottom under, and I'm gonna take it over to the machine and give it a really good press on that seam where my exterior fabric met my coordinating fabric, which is that green fabric. And I'm gonna take the top of my bag and fold it down until it meets the other part of my fabric. And I'm just going to take it over to the iron and give it a really good press. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that zipper to the top part of my bag. You want to open up your zipper all the way so it doesn't get in the way of you sewing it. And what I did before I sewed it is I just took my fabric marking pen and I marked the ends of where I shouldn't in case I was kind of getting off. Now I did end up clipping it, but it was just kind of like a guide. So I would make sure that it's being sewn to the right length. All right, so that way when I was done, it wouldn't mismatch in any part. All right, so there it is sewed. And now I'm going to take that zipper and I'm going to put it to the middle of my bag. Okay, so try to align the zipper pull to the middle of your bag. At this point, you can trim off the extra zipper, which I did here. When I made another bag, I just ended up leaving that extra on until I just trimmed up the side. But here I went ahead and trimmed it up. Now you're going to want to readjust your material so that it will lay just like this, like it would when you make your bag. And then you're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side in. All right, and that will seal up the edges. And you're just going to trim off a little bit on each side. Don't get too close to your stitch line, but you're going to trim it up a little bit because now what you're doing is creating a French seam. We want those raw edges hidden. So now take your bag and turn it inside out, and you're going to want to also poke out your corners. You don't have to do a French seam. I guess if you have a serger, that could work as well, but the pattern does call for a French seam, and it works really well if you don't have a serger for those raw edges. Hides those raw edges really well and tucks them in so they're out of sight and out of mind. So I have this, I think it's by Clover, I think it's like a point to turn tool. I also have a purple thing, but I use this one quite often. You just want to poke out your corners gently. A lot of people have what they like to use. I've used the end of a pencil before very gently. I've used the end of a very skinny paintbrush before to poke out my corners. But this is something that I have that I really enjoy. So now you're going to take it over to the machine once your corners are poked out and go ahead and clip. You can even press it if you want to lay flat. And according to the pattern, you're going to sew in from the edge to create a seam. And that will encase all of your raw edges. So go ahead and turn it inside out again. If you have any flyaway strings, go ahead and clip those. And you're going to want to use your point turner, or if you have the purple thing, or if you just have like a paintbrush, whatever you're using to poke out your corners, just go ahead and poke them out gently. All right. And then our first bag will be done. So I found this pretty super simple and easy to do. I even went ahead and ordered some more lace zippers. I had some extra fabric, so I could make another set with the fabric. Some of the fabric I have left over, I would just have to supply some of coordinating fabric there. But there it is. It's so cute, and this is the smallest size that the pattern makes. And now I'm going to go ahead and start on another one. I'm going to go through one more bag process with you just to kind of go through the steps again. And then the last bag I do off screen, but I will show you all 3 bags at the very end. So I'm going to make the medium one. I just matched the sides of my exterior of the bag and the top and the backing of my bag. Sewed them together, right sides together, pressed open my seam. Here's my lining. I put right sides together, and you can pin or you can clip, and now you're going to stitch along the short sides. Once it's stitched together, again, turn that inside out. It makes a tube. Take it over to the ironing board, or if you have a pressing board near you, which some people do, roll out those seams that you just sewed and then give it a good press so they lay nice and flat. All right, so now you're going to take the zipper that belongs with this one, which I'm not using an orange zipper on this one. I'm using the teal colored zipper. And you're going to attach one side of the zipper to the top of your bag. It doesn't really matter which side the zipper pull goes. It's your preference. But here it is. I have sewed mine on. It attached to the back. It's nestled right up there against the seam. And now you're going to fold it down. And you're going to that's going to be your bottom edge, the seam there where my exterior fabric meets my coordinating fabric for the back. I'm going to give that a good press. And then I'm going to fold the top down until it just meets underneath the zipper where my other fabric is, or so that it's nestled up to where it should be sewn on the zipper. And again, you want to open up your zipper before you sew it together. That will help you with the sewing because it will be pretty difficult to sew if you kept that zipper all the way closed. I ended up clipping this because it was a lot easier for me to clip it so it would hold together and not shift on me so much during sewing. But you can do whatever works. If pinning works for you, go ahead and pin. If using a little bit of Elmer's glue under there, or crafting glue works a little bit for basting so it doesn't, go ahead and do that. Or if you have something else that works to hold it in place before you sew, go ahead and do that. That's a-okay. So now I'm going to take it over, sew the other side, and then we'll go on to making our French seams. I think I was having trouble with the camera here. All right, so here I've got it attached. I'm going to move my zipper pull into the middle of my bag, and then I'm going to readjust the bag. Well, I did it all the way. I'll readjust it back. But I'm going to adjust the bag so that everything is where it should be before I start sewing those sides down. All right. And my fabric was kind of stuck in the middle, and I just had to give it a couple good pulls to make sure it wasn't bunched up under there, because that would be not good if I sewed it and my fabric was all bunched up. So just make sure to smooth everything. All right, so now I'm moving the zipper pull to about the middle of my bag. I'm going to take it over to the machine and sew those 2 sides where my raw edges are, and that'll be my first stitch line to sew everything together. And then we will finish the French seams afterwards. All right, so here's my 2 sides, and I left the zipper on this time while I sewed it up, and that was just fine. And I'm going to trim it off when I'm trimming up the sides of my bag. So I'm just trimming a little bit off on the sides of my bag, and the zipper along with it. You could have trimmed it off before you sewed it as well, and that would have been a-okay like I did with my first one, but I found it easier just to do everything at once. So now you're going to turn it inside out. Again, you're going to poke out all those corners really well using whatever method works best for you. And then you're going to, if you want to, give your bag a good press so everything lays nice and flat. You can pin, you can clip, and then you're going to sew your seam according to the pattern in so it will encase those raw edges. And then the last step is just turning it inside out and poking out those corners, and you will have your finished Lily Lace pouch bag. So you don't have to use the lace zippers. They add quite a pretty look to them. You can definitely use a regular zipper. If you want this a little bit more stiff, you can go ahead and like use fusible interfacing of any kind, lightweight or something, to your fabrics before you start sewing everything together. There's lots of options here. So there it is. Got my seams done, so those, when I turn it inside out, I shouldn't see any more raw edges. Everything should be well hidden. And I'm just going to spend time again poking out those corners. So I found it, again, super easy to do. The pattern is exclusive to the Quilted Cow. They do sell kits for it. I happened to find this one, I don't know if I got it on sale or not, but I ended up saying to myself, I should give this a try. It looks pretty cool. I've got like 4 nieces, and these would make great Christmas gifts. They would make good use for yourself. I'm going to keep this set and use it for whatever I want to use them for. So this is the medium-sized bag, and then there's one above this bag, which is the largest size bag. And I'm going to follow all the steps that I did for these two to put my largest sized bag together. See, you can kind of see the size difference between the small one and the medium one. I think they turned out really cute. I love this. This fabric was the Art Gallery fabric, and here they all are finished.